All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. And today's episode is going to be something new that I haven't really done before. It's going to be kind of behind the scenes of a video I'm trying to make, which is something I'm doing yearly now. I did it for the first time, I think, 2 years ago. Really came into full swing last year. And it's my top 30 for every positional videos for the next following NBA season. So these videos are going to start to come out on the Srosh channel early in August. So basically, I'm going to go through top 30 point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forward, centers. I'll even do top 25, under 25, my top 50 players overall, and my top 30 teams. So if you guys are interested in these videos, let me know. So I'm pretty much going to be workshopping my top 15 for you guys right now. Nothing set in stone, and it's open to criticism. If there's something I am completely, if you think I'm like, not fully understanding or not getting right or nearsighted or just kind of maybe being biased, like obviously Jalen Brunson's going to have a huge factor into a point guard rankings, please let me know on YouTube what you agree with or what you disagree with. This is pretty much who I'd want on my team for the 2025 season. Last year, when I did my point guard video, I basically said, this is the final year. I'm having Steph as my number one point guard and Luka number two. And honestly, I should have already made Luka my number one guy because Luka was better than Steph last year and he led the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals. With, honestly, you take Luka off the Mavericks and Steph off the Warriors, the Mavericks are still probably better of a team. But honestly, I don't know if Steph could have carried that Mavericks team to the finals. Maybe he could have. Maybe he could have playing with Kyrie Irving. But I think that's what can come down to it. We're going to take into account injuries, age, contract really doesn't matter too much. But yeah, so I'm basically going to be workshopping this. And I guess that pretty much hints out that my number one point guard is Luka Doncic. The list, if you guys are watching on YouTube, this is still just like completely workshopping. And I think Luka Doncic should be the clear-cut point guard. Now, there's going to be some guys, too, that it's weird for NBA positions. It's not set in stone. Like, it's not like an MLB shortstop or an NFL receiver where it's like that guy is a set-on position there. For the NFL, it's pretty much exact. For MLB, you can play multiple positions. But for the NBA, also, you could play multiple positions. Now, you can kind of go to Basketball Reference, and you can go to their play-by-play and what they did in the previous season. Like Luka Doncic spent 74% of his minutes last year for the Dallas Mavericks at the point guard position, 26% at shooting guard. Now, I think for Luka, it's pretty self-explanatory that he's a point guard. Actually, I kind of want to go back. Like, Luka, when he first started off in the league, was kind of like a power forward, small forward hybrid. It says he played a lot of shooting guard and then transitioned to more of a point guard role. But now Kyrie Irving, somebody that I'm not really sure where I'm going to rank, if I'm going to rank him in point guards or shooting guards now that he plays with Luka as a point guard. Kyrie last year played 68% of his minutes as a shooting guard. So now Kyrie's kind of a shooting guard. So probably going to have Kyrie ranked there when we are doing these shooting guard videos. So, yeah, take that into account when you guys are listening to this podcast. But I think Luka Doncic should be the clear 1.1 point guard. I don't really think that's much of a debate. Didn't mean to do that, but yeah, Luka averaged 34 points last year, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, 49% from the field, 38% from three, 79% from the line. Truly one of the best players in the NBA. Now, if I had to say my top 3 right now, I'd probably go Jokic 1. I'd still probably go Giannis 2. But I think if Giannis next year has another injury-riddled season, I'm going to be like, this is just maybe a common theme with him, and that's fine. I mean, Luka's dealt with injuries. Jokic has been pretty lucky without having to deal with injuries, but Giannis has missed multiple playoffs now, or at least been banged up, at least in 23 and 24 he was. Luka has been to a finals more recently, but I do think Giannis is better on the defensive end of the floor, which goes into it a lot. You could look into the creation aspect, the initiating aspect, making teammates better, scoring inside, shot creating, separation, all that could also go to Luka as well. So Luka for point guards, though, is my clear 1.1. The numbers back it up. He led the Dallas Mavericks to a finals, was the leading leader in scoring, finished third in MVP voting. I think and he's 25 freaking years old, which is the craziest thing about Luka Doncic is that he's 25. So I think there's no debate. Your top point guard in the league should be Luka Doncic. Now, let's see here. My number 2 point guard in the league, I think it's not going to be Steph, which I don't know if it's a hot take, but it's the way that they were kind of close last year. But this man, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, finished second in MVP voting, and he's 25 years old. He's actually about to turn 26. I think you guys are seeing this on the 11th, so yeah, he will be turning 26, I think, tomorrow. But I think there is some debate between Shai and Steph, but the fact that Shai is basically 10 years younger than Steph Curry, and also has the pieces around him to make him better, I think Shai's the number 2 point guard going in to the 2025 season. And we did see him play, I think, a little bit of shooting guard because obviously Josh Giddey could initiate it sometimes, but it was really Shai being the number 1 or being that true point guard. Shai, yeah, he played 99% of his minutes last year at the point guard position. And basically the last 3 years, we've been classifying him as a point guard. He put up 30 points, 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 54% from the field, 35% from 3, 87% from the line. He's kind of had injury concerns in the past. Like, he played all 82 games as a rookie, 70 games in the shortened season, but then 35 and 21, 56 and 22, 68 and 23. But then he bounced back and played 75 games last year. Shai's going to want to make an All-NBA team next year as well, because then he'll be eligible, or I think he actually might already be eligible for the Supermax since he was on an All-NBA first team this year. But yeah, Shai could win MVP next year, and I don't know if I could say the same about Steph Curry unless he carries this Warriors team, but it's not 2022 anymore, sadly, and Steph is still an incredible player, but I don't think I'm going to have Steph number 2, and this is just me workshopping it. I'm not saying definitively that's where I'm going to go, because if you're pro Steph for next year and you think Steph is better than Shai and or Luka, please give me a good explanation in the comments on YouTube, or let me know on Twitter if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But yeah, I think just Shai being 10 years old younger, and also Shai, it goes up against Luka and Steph much better on the defensive end of the floor. Shai finished 7th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. 7th! For a guard of Shai, who's putting up 30 points a night for the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Talk about an elite two-way player. I thought Shai could have ended up on all defensive team as well. Now, there's some really elite defensive guards that obviously prioritize a lot of their skill sets towards defense, like Alex Caruso, even like Drew Holiday, like Jalen Suggs. Shai's got to worry about dropping 30 points a night and leading the number 1 team in the Western Conference last year. So the fact that he gave you arguably top 10 defensive ability from a guard is insane. And I think there's more of an argument, in my opinion, this could be a hot take, more of an argument of Shai at 1 than there is at Shai at 3. And that's just predicting what's going to happen in 2025. Shai's going to be going to his age 26 season. He's going to have Alex Caruso to maybe even help him out on the defensive end of the floor. No longer is he guarding some guy's best offensive guard. It's going to be Caruso, and he's going to get the inferior of the 2-1. So I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander clearly comes in as my number 2 point guard next year, which makes Steph number 3. And I think I don't know if that's going to be consensus, but I'm very confident that's what it should look like. I think it really starts at number 4, which we'll get into, and that's going to be 3 different guys, maybe 4 different guys you can have from 4 to 8. But Steph last year put up 26.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists a night, shot 45% from the field, 41% from 3, 92% from the line. The Warriors were a play-in-exit team. They ended up becoming a lottery team. They didn't even get their pick. They lost Klay Thompson this offseason. Steph won Clutch Player of the Year. He was incredibly clutch. He was an all-star, all-NBA third team, and he hasn't slowed down. Like, Steph's peak here from 2014, I would say, to 2024 is an incredible 10-year peak. It's one of the greatest 10-year peaks of all time. I just don't know. Like, Steph's going to be 37 at the end of the year. Do I trust him to be a top 2 point guard in the league more than Shai or Luka, the way that their careers are going? I don't even think like Curry's career is on the downturn. It's just he's getting older. He's going to be 37, like I said. And as much as I love Steph and I would like for him to still be a top point guard in the league, which he still is, I have him 3. And that could be a hot take. You may think, Matt, he's going to be 37. Think about how loaded the point guard position is. You should be a little bit more conservative and have him at 5. Like, there could be a regression. There could be injuries. This could be a bad Warriors team. Is he going to play or try to play the whole season? I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep Steph at 3 for the respect of him. I think, like, he was phenomenal last year. I don't think I should drop him by any means. So, yeah, Luka 1, Shai 2, Steph 3. I think there becomes a real debate at number 4. So Ja Morant is the interesting one. I think Ja, from what he did in 2023, has earned himself to be in this conversation in 2022. Incredible stuff. Shouldn't have won Most Improved Player because that's not what the award is, but was incredible in 22. Was incredible in 23. Grizzlies were a 2 seed in the Western Conference, even with their first round exit. He was good in the 9 games he played last year. I mean, in his game that he came back against, I believe, was it the Pelicans? He hits the game winner, suspended 25 games to start off the year, hits the game winner against the Pelicans. And then, yeah, was pretty efficient throughout these games. Like, Ja's always going to be an inconsistent three-point shooter if he's chucking them. He's going to have his good nights like we saw against the Lakers, like we saw against Toronto. You will even take these ones against the Kings, but then this horrible shooting night against the Pelicans, right? But Ja can get to his spots. He can attack the rim better than anybody else. He can finish at the rim better than anybody else, or right up there in a separate tier. And compared to Luka, better defender. Compared to Steph, probably better defender. Compared to the guys we'll get into like Brunson and Halliburton, probably a better defender. I don't think Ja's elite on that end of the floor by any means, but I think this is where I'm going to really have some tough debates. So Ja Morant, first guy that could be in at number 4. I think Jalen Brunson I got to consider as well. Brunson, 27. Smaller guards don't tend to age well, but he's still 27. He's going to be 28. He's in a contract year technically. He's coming off one of the best seasons of a Knick in quite some time. 29 points, 3.5 rebounds, 7 assists, 48 from the field, 40 from 3, 85 from the line. Led the Knicks to a playoff appearance as the 2 seed. 50 wins for the first time in quite some time for the Knicks. Got off to a rocky start against the Sixers in the first 2 games, like not really good efficiency. The Knicks won those. And then he was unreal over the next 4 in that series where he averaged 42 points and 10 assists on 49, 35, 77 splits, which is kind of unreal. And he took that momentum against the Pacers. I mean, there was a poor game 4. I mean, game 3 wasn't great. Game 7 wasn't great. He got hurt. But Brunson has showed up in big minutes, so I'm not worried about that as well. And Brunson was incredible. He was 5th in MVP voting, which is insane. He was on All-NBA second team. He was an All-Star. And he was, once again, one of the better scoring guards in the league. He's not a liability on the defensive end of the floor, but he's not great on that end of the floor. The other guy that could be in consideration is playing for Team USA and Tyrese Halliburton. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists last year. It was definitely a season of 2 halves. He was pretty good in the first half. It was weird in the second half. Like pre-All-Star break, 22 points, 12 assists, 49, 40, 85 splits. Post-All-Star break, 17, 4, and 9.5 with 45, 30, 85 splits. And it's weird too because like when I was scouting Halliburton at Iowa State, like evaluating him for the draft, I actually thought he was a pretty good defender, and I actually thought he was pretty good in Sacramento, but his defense kind of fell off last year, it seems like at times. Now, I don't know if that's him taking more of an offensive load, playing through injuries, maybe just delegating the top defender to somebody else, but I would have liked to see a little bit more, but he's one of the best passers, if not the best passer in the league at the point guard position. He's up there with Luka and Trey. He averaged 11 assists a night last year, so I think those 3 are in my consideration. I do think like I don't think I'm having Maxey in that conversation. I don't think I'm having Dame in that conversation or De'Aaron Fox. So yeah, that's what I have for 4. Like I said, I'm not really figuring it out. I'm not ranking them in this video. I think talking to myself, it's weird because I kind of like Brunson over Morant, but then I feel like Halliburton beat Brunson in the playoffs, showed up in the playoffs. But how do I think they're going to look in 25? Halliburton's going to be fully healthy. Brunson had a hand injury towards the end of the year. Like, that could have a new effect as well. So I think that's my biggest, that's going to be the toughest one to rank. But I don't want to disrespect Ja because he was so elite for the last 2 years before last year's suspension and injury, which I think he's going to be fully healthy coming back. Obviously, doesn't have to worry about any off-the-court stuff like he did last year. So I think for now I'm going to do Ja 4, Brunson 5, Halliburton 6. But this could definitely change in a few weeks before I make the video as I do more research into these guys and their projections. So number 7 right after that's here. I think for 2025, I think it's Tyrese Maxey time over Damian Lillard. Maxey was incredible last year. 26, 4, and 6, 45 from the field, 37 from 3, 86 from the line. That game 5, I was at the Garden against the Knicks in round number 1. Man, I was so upset. I really was what happened in that series, man, or that game. 46 points. He was unreal in 51 minutes. He wasn't great in game 7, but he was good in games 1, 2, and 3. 4 wasn't great, but then game 5 was one of the best performances of the playoffs as a whole. I think Maxey, just the way his career is going, he's 23 years old, fresh off the rookie max extension. I like him over Damian Lillard next year, and I know Damian Lillard, there's the talks that like Doc Rivers came out and said that Damian Lillard really wasn't working out last offseason because he was worried about getting injured because he knew he was going to get traded and he didn't want to suffer an injury and then a team wouldn't trade for him. So I get that. And I don't know, though. Dame is going to be 34 years old very soon. He averaged 24 points, 4.5 rebounds, 7 assists last year, 42 from the field, 35 from 3, 92 from the line. He was an all-star. He was great in the first half, a little bit worse in the second half. Played 73 games. most he's played since the 2019 season, averaged 35 minutes a night. The defense isn't great, but it's the least amount of points in a real season for him since what, the 2015 season? And now he's going from a number 1 in Portland to a number 2 in Milwaukee, so it makes sense. I just wonder how Dame is going to look in his age 34 season. It's not super old. It's not. Curry's a couple years older. But Dame, post All-Star break, the efficiency, I mean, like, it didn't really drop off that much, honestly. It's just like he's not going to be like the most efficient guy inside the arc. He's going to be an elite three-point shooter. He's going to be clutch. You don't have to worry about that. I just wonder, I mean, yeah, like that January was really bad because then like he got the All-Star nod as the All-Star starter and then he decided to not perform well after that. Yeah, Damian Lillard is really good on Saturdays. That's funny. But yeah, so I think Damian Lillard is somebody that should be in consideration as well. So I think I like Maxey at 7, Lillard at 8. But is that low and disrespectful to Lillard? You can let me know how I feel about that because I could be off on Lillard and I might not be appreciating Lillard enough, and I'm taking too much into account his age next year and his not poor play last year. He was a good player, but it's just not what Damian Lillard used to be. So we next have a tier. I think I could throw Darius Garland in this tier as well. It's LaMelo Ball, Jamal Murray, Cade Cunningham, Darius Garland. Off the top of my head, guys will come to kind of my mind as well. Like, I don't know if I want to put James Harden in that tier. There's guys that, like, I think you also, I got to figure out where I want to rank Drew Holiday, where I want to rank. I think Derek White's going to be more of a shooting guard, so I'm going to keep Drew at the 1. And then just kind of going through teams. I don't know if there's going to be anybody else in that tier specifically right now. No, because, I have Jamal there. Nobody from Minnesota. I mean, DeJounte Murray is probably after those guys, I would think, after the downturn he had defensively last year. And maybe sometimes inefficient shooting, but I think the DeJounte should get some top 15 love for sure. I think that's probably it. No Laker. I don't think D'Lo belongs in there. Like I said, Harden. The Suns are going to be an interesting team to rank. I don't know. I might just put Booker and Beal at shooting guards, but if Booker's just, I kind of want to put Booker as a shooting guard. I know he played point guard last year, but I kind of want to do that. Scoot, no. I already have Fox in there. No, I like Fred VanVleet. I think will be a tier after those guys. Chicago, I don't think I can have Kobe White in that tier next year. I don't think, at least. Could be wrong. I haven't even talked about Trey Young, so I kind of forgot about Trey Young. So we will put Trey Young here. Miami, no. Washington, no. As much as I love Quickly, no. So Trey Young, though. Okay, so Trey Young, he's such a tough dude to rank, man. He really is. Because 2021, he was incredible. I mean, Trey Young's stats, basically, since he's entered the league, have been absurd. Like, outside of his rookie year, which was a great rookie year, he's averaged unreal numbers over the last 5 seasons. 27 points, 10 assists, on pretty good efficiency and is one of the better playmakers and pick and roll initiators in the league. That 2021 playoff run for Atlanta was great, upsetting Philadelphia, beating the Knicks in round 1 as the villain there at the Garden. But he hasn't really accomplished much playoff success since. He has a couple All-Star games to show for it. Kind of crazy still he didn't make it in 2023. I think Trey, though, after last year, I think it's fair to say he's behind Ja, Brunson, and Halliburton. But I think I'm still high on Trey Young enough where I would put him in front of Maxey and Lillard. But just saying Damian Lillard is your 9th best point guard next year sounds crazy. It does. Maybe you would have Lillard ahead of Maxey, but I think Maxey's just a little bit more efficient. I think he's quicker getting to the rim, and I think I trust his overall game next year more than I trust Damian Lillard's at this point of their careers. So I think Trey 7, Maxey 8, Dame 9, and then you really get into a logjam of guys. At 10, I threw down De'Aaron Fox. It's funny because I don't think De'Aaron Fox is the best player on the Kings anymore. I think it actually may go to Domantas Sabonis overall, but Fox was fine from 3 last year, shot 37%. Still not a great free throw shooter. 26.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 46 from the field for a team that did lose in the play-in tournament. It is cool. Basketball Reference kind of has projections out for them next year. Probably be very similar to what they were last year. He did average 2 steals a night last year. I think Fox is super underrated as well, man. I do. He did win Clutch Player of the Year 2 years ago. Like, he's a clutch guy. He's not a bad defender. Like, he's a better defender than Brunson, than Trey, than probably Maxey, than Lillard, than Halliburton. He's a better, probably Steph, than Luka. Like, he's a better defender than all those guys. I don't think he's elite on that end. At Fox, at 10, is that too low? I think, actually, should I have Fox ahead of Maxey? Maybe I have Maxey too high. Because now I'm, like, talking to myself. I kind of like Fox more than Maxey. So So if I move Fox to 8, Maxey 9, Dame 10. Man, maybe I should just put Dame ahead of. But is Dame better than De'Aaron Fox? I think Fox has maybe become underrated as well. The Kings were a 3 seed 2 years ago. They had some injuries last year, but maybe Fox is better than Sabonis. So some of these ads I'm getting are unreal on Basketball Reference. This is really annoying for you guys watching on YouTube. So after him, I think LaMelo's going to be good next year, and that's why I have LaMelo at 11. I think this actually will be a healthy LaMelo year. I know we haven't seen that since the 2022 season, but I do think LaMelo's going to be fully healthy next year. He's going to be an elite three-point shooter. I hope he tries on the defensive end of the floor because he can still be a really good defender, really good playmaker, overall good scorer, and he could be so much fun to watch in Charlotte next year. He really could be. So, yeah, I'm going to have LaMelo, I think, around the top 10. I mean, he's in the tier with Jamal Murray. I like Cade Cunningham a ton next year. I mean, Jamal Murray, maybe I should have low because Jamal Murray, I mean, in the regular season, I don't think he's as good as some of these guys. But in the playoffs, obviously, he turns it up a notch. But he's a number 2, and he does this number 2 role so well. Man, he really does. 21 points. He's never averaged more than 21 points in his career, but it's great efficiency. He picks his spots. He's not going to shoot you out of games. He's a good playmaker. He gets rebounds pretty well for somebody of his size. He's a good free throw shooter. He can get to the line a little bit. Jamal Murray's just consistent. He really is. You know what you're going to get out of Jamal Murray. He's 27 years old. He's another year removed from the ACL injury. He was still good in the playoffs last year. He had a few game winners. I mean, he's somebody, I mean, you could have liked a couple better games against Minnesota, like game 1 and 2 weren't good. Game 6 wasn't good. Game 5, you'd probably like for it to be better. Even game 4. I mean, you'd like to see game 3 and game 7 Jamal Murray more, honestly. Because he was just flat out consistent against the Lakers I don't know, though. The efficiency was a little bit bad. I kind of forgot he was shooting in the 30s in those Lakers games. Maybe I'm going to bump Jamal Murray down? I don't know, though. But I'm a fan of Jamal Murray. He didn't play good against Team USA last night in the exhibition game against Canada. Like I said, I think Cade Cunningham's going to have a big year. Cade Cunningham is somebody that is in a terrible environment in Detroit. He was hurt all pretty much of year number 2. These are actually the worst ads I'm getting right now. They're like feet. Dude, I don't even know what the hell is going on this website. Give me a second here. Yeah, I think I can use ad block. I don't know. We'll hope that helps. But Cade was good last year on one of the worst teams in the NBA. The worst team in the NBA. Played in 62 games. Got a rookie max extension. Shot 45% from the field, 35 from 3, 87 from the line. Elite free throw shooter. I think he's going to be even better from 3 this year. 7.5 assists. When the second leading scorer after the deadline was Malachi Flynn? No. What was it? Evan Fournier? Was it Jaden Ivey? It just wasn't good. And now you're adding Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris. Not elite names by any means, but should be enough to elevate Cade next year. So that's why I think Cade could be a top 10 point guard in the league. Darius Garland, I'm expecting a bounce back year for Darius Garland. I think he was hurt last year, had the jaw injury, was reading up on it that he could be kind of hesitant to go inside because of just the injury, and you're afraid to get hit in the head and you don't want to really deal with that at all. So yeah, I think there could be now a just invented Darius Garland, who's kind of playing for a spot on this team long term. He was in trade talks. I mean, it's not going to happen this offseason, I think, but a little bit more of a down year. I think he could be back to what he was in 22 and 23 because he was an all-star a couple years ago in 2022. Drew Holiday, I got to give some respect to. I mean, he's not going to put up the flashiest numbers in the regular season. He's got to have a lot of mileage on him. He's going to be 34. He's 34. He was just in the finals. He's playing in the Olympics. A lot of miles are going to be on Drew. He averaged 12.5 points last year, which was the lowest of his career since the 2012 season. No, excuse me, since his rookie season. But now, obviously, he's the 4th, 3rd at times scoring option, maybe even 5th at times. So you're going to pretty much just value Drew for his defense because he's been on an all-defensive team 6 out of the last 7 years. And he's really turned his career around on the defensive end of the floor from what he was in New Orleans and Philly. And then just kind of the last guy I want to talk about as well, I guess, is DeJounte Murray. I mean, I'm interested to see what the stats he puts up in New Orleans with a lot of other shooters there like Trey Murphy, Zion, Ingram for now. He put up good counting numbers last year, but the defense wasn't great. Didn't translate into winning. Did he make his teammates better? I'm not really sure. So I think he'll be somebody to keep an eye on as well next year. Fred VanVleet, I could also talk about. I think Fred VanVleet has just been consistent. We'll see if Houston's playing in bigger games next year, which could definitely happen. But he was a good defender, good playmaker, good three-point shooter for Houston last year. Pretty consistent on that end of the floor. And I'm excited to see what he is in another year with Ime Udoka. For a lot of guys in Houston that are trying to play for contracts, honestly. James Harden, I got to give out, I think, consideration to the top 10 because I know Harden's numbers on the Clippers weren't great for like Harden standards. But now that there's no Paul George there, he averaged 16.5 points in those 72 games last year for the Clippers. He could average the most amount of points per game we have seen since like the Brooklyn Harden in 2021, the full season Brooklyn Harden, or most of the season. 36 games, but after the Houston trade Harden. Not the Nets Sixers season, even though I really liked Brooklyn Harden. It was one of my favorite versions of him because he really embraced the facilitator role. I don't think he was foul hunting as much. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get close to a 2020 Harden. We'll see him average 30 points per game. I doubt it though. But I think with no Paul George there, this could be a big statistical season for Harden. We'll see if it translates into wins at all. I don't know if I'm going to consider anybody else for the top 15. Like I said, I think I'm going to have Derek White as a shooting guard. Unless you disagree, like Hero's a shooting guard. Kyrie, I think, is going to be a shooting guard because it's a weaker position, so I'm going to consider them. So a lot of the next 15 spots could be bench guys. Like am I going to have like Marcus Smart as a shooting guard, or am I going to have him as a point guard? I don't know. We didn't really get to see him play with Ja really last year. Maybe Marcus Smart is going to be a point guard, but I don't think he's going to crack the top 20. Like Russ, I doubt will crack the top 20. Chris Paul could put up some fun numbers in San Antonio. We'll see if he cracks the top 20. Tyus Jones, I liked a lot. Who's going to start for the Magic at point guard? Is it going to be Cole Anthony? Are they going to try to operate Jalen Suggs at the one? I guess so, right? I don't know. I don't know if Jalen Suggs can be that full-on initiator, but I guess you can have Paolo be kind of a point forward there. I mean, Jalen Suggs played how many percent of his minutes at the one last year? Yeah, 14. He played 79% at the two, but you're adding KCP at the two, and you're going to start KCP. You're paying him all that money, so you would think he's going to be there. I don't think we're going to see enough of a breakout from Ben Thompson. I could be high on Scoot Henderson, which I am, but we'll see if Scoot's going to really do anything like that. Stephon Castle as well. I think I'm going to incorporate rookies because it could be a little bit weaker in terms of depth for some of the guards. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly as well, I should mention. I think I'm going to have Quickly borderline top 15, but in the top 20, I'm going to be very high on Quickly next year for sure. In Toronto, he was really good post the deadline or post the trade, and I think he's going to be really good in a full season in Toronto. I'm just trying to think if there's any other guys that I think could be in top 15 consideration. I don't think Keontae George I'm going to consider. I think Sexton might be more of a 2. D'Lo will be probably outside my top 20. Yeah, Phoenix, I got to figure out where. I mean, if I'm ranking Booker as a point guard, he's going to be probably ahead of Ja, right behind Curry. But I kind of want to keep Booker as a shooting guard. But that might be hypocritical if I'm doing that. But I don't know. They didn't really add a true point guard this offseason. They added Monte Morris. I mean, maybe they start Monte Morris and Beal and Katie and Booker and then Nurkic. Maybe that's a lineup they run out there. But we could see Booker as the full-time starting point guard. And then who's the starting point guard, I guess, in Brooklyn? I guess it's going to be Dennis Schroeder. I think that's the only other team we didn't really touch on is the Nets. Because Wizards, I guess Malcolm Brogdon will be around the top 20 range. And then we'll have some backup guys as well, like TJ McConnell will definitely make the cut. I don't know, Peyton Pritchard will make the cut. Kobe White, I should have mentioned too. He'll be top 20, maybe borderline top 20. I expect him to start at point guard. Played 85% of his minutes there. I don't know where I'm going to do Giddey as well. Because I think I would assume he's going to be a 2. Do I think Giddey's going to... I guess I got to read more up on how they're going to use him next year. If they're going to use him as a true 1. Well, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of what that kind of looks like next year for the point guard position. Let me know if you guys did enjoy this episode of this podcast, because I will run through every position if you guys do enjoy this, just me kind of workshopping my top 15. And then this will eventually be a top 30 video that you guys will get on the Straws channel. And I got a lot more guards to get done with. I don't know if I'm gonna have Cade this high. We'll see. But yeah, I think this is something what it could look like. And like I said, it's just a workshop. You can let me know if you agree with any of my picks, if you disagree with any of them, and if you guys want to see me do this with shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, or any of the other videos, I could do my workshop top 30 teams. But when those videos come out on YouTube, I will definitely break this down. So when I finalize the top 30, you guys will get a full podcast and me just sitting down talking about it, or I could bring a guest on and they can roast me about my rankings and ask me questions why I went with this guy over this guy. And yeah, like I said, if you guys did enjoy this on YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you drop a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would really appreciate a rating and review over there as well. Like always, I love you guys, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.